was here doing NBA Countdown in LA yesterday, and we had a conversation. Wilbon and I were going back and forth with it, and then we got on the phone with a couple of Hall of Famers who will remain nameless because they'll kick out you know what if we tell you who they are. They just made it very, very clear. You will not quote us. But they started dissecting and talking about, we was having this debate, Wilbon and myself, with these people, and they talked about Magic in this regard. They said, let's keep in mind that when you talk about Steph Curry, he's great, all-timer. Nobody denies that. But what they lamented about Steph Curry, folks, is that when you talk about him and you're not talking about his shooting, what else is there? The only time you talk about him is when he is shooting the basketball. They talked about Magic. Magic is rebounding. Magic is passing. Magic is running an offense. Magic is leading a break. Magic is defending. Magic is sitting there playing point guard 1 minute, center the next. That kind of thing. And then Magic Johnson, for example, affects the game in so many, or affected the game in so many different ways that because of that, you can't take it away from Magic. Whereas with Steph Curry, it's prolific, it's phenomenal, it's all of those things. But it's because of one element, his ability to shoot the basketball. Here's my retort. At the end of the day, when we want to point to numbers, and the analytics folks will be very, very happy about what I'm about to say. Did y'all know that Steph Curry has won more of his career playoff series than Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Shaq, Kobe, Larry Bird, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Steph Curry has won 85% of his career playoff series. He is 23-4 all time in 27 playoff series. That's 85%. Michael Jordan's at 81%. Magic's at 80%. LeBron James is at 78%. Kobe's at 77%. Kareem is at 75%. Bird is at 72%. Shaq and Kevin Durant are at 71%. Steph Curry is at 85%.
Okay, I love that, Stephen A. And with all due respect to the Hall of Famers, these conversations honestly stress me out a little bit because there is so much good basketball to discuss. I almost would counter the argument that you just gave, and not that this is only for the sake of conversation. If the crux of everything that Steph does is shoot the basketball, and we're still talking about him in this way, to me, that only adds to the fact that it takes doing one thing extremely well to cause all 9 other players on the floor to have their eyes on you. That would be my only counter.
I'm not disputing what you and KP are saying.
We're just discussing.
I'm just telling you that the historians, the folks that have done it, brought that up. But here was my counter.
Okay.
Well, what did Kareem do? I mean, don't get me wrong, Kareem could defend and all of that stuff, and we know that. We're not taking anything away. But we know that Kareem is synonymous with the sky hook. Nobody takes that away from him. So why take the jumper away from Steph?
There you go.
Well, we actually need to state the Hall of Famers, and I love them, and I
respect.
I got the calls too, right? Respect to them, but we have to stop with the shooting label on Steph Curry, and put the scoring on Steph Curry. Like his scoring is different, and then also we have to think about when he's like, for us, what he's been doing in his career. Who he's been doing it against and who he's been stopping from winning championships. When we talk about LeBron James, on some people's list, he's number 1. On some people's list, he's number 2. Who's been in his way? Steph Curry. When we talk about stopping Kevin Durant when he was in Oklahoma City, who was in his way? Steph Curry. We're talking about a guy that is playing in the league with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. We're talking about guys, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. We're talking those 6 guys alone already cemented in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. So when you think about that, all those guys, we're talking about 7-footers, athletic, and whatever the case may be. He is 6'2", and play below the basket.
He's taller
And he
than
has
6'2".
been in their way since he came into the league.
Yeah, and
Ooh-cha.
we'll leave it there. The Warriors win their 19th straight series versus the Western Conference. The question is, who's going to stop Steph Curry? Who's going to stop Jimmy Butler? The only person seems like Jimmy himself, who turned his right ankle.
Themselves, particularly him, because he averaged a triple-double in the 60s. But the fact of the matter is, Magic Johnson revolutionized the game of basketball. We can't get around that. But Steph Curry, the greatest shooter God has ever created, I think has warranted a strong discussion to be the best point guard in history because of impact. We know that he's revolutionized the game in a different way because of what has been able to be generated in terms of three-point shooting or whatever. But I'm thinking about impact. Just like Magic Johnson impacted the greatness of a Kareem, of a Worthy, of a Byron Scott, a Norm Nixon before him and others, all right? And basically it instituted the fast break in a way we had never seen until he arrived. Steph Curry has done that for the game of basketball in terms of the jump shot, the three-point shot, the space that it creates, for the opportunities that it creates for the players around him, how it scares the living hell out of defenses and what have you. And then when you take into account not just his shooting ability, but it's off the dribble, it's floaters, it's runners, it's spot ups, it's off screens and picks, it's everywhere, it's off the dribble, creating his own shot. This brother is something magnificent. There is no way around it. And so for me, when I look at it from that perspective, and I think about impact, the way you affect not just the players you're playing with because you create open opportunities for them because of how people have to lock in and zero in on you. His movement without the basketball is something else that we need to pay attention to and really, really appreciate, because he scares the living hell out of you because you're always looking for where he's at because he's always moving like a road runner, for crying out loud. You can't find him, okay, until it's too late, all right? You take that into consideration. The impact that he has and the fear he instills in opposing defenses because he can shoot from 30, from 40, from 50, from 20, from 10, from 5. He scored 22 points in the paint last night. Yesterday afternoon, rather. 22 points in the paint. He's that dude. And it is a discussion, at the very least, that he is the greatest point guard that has ever played the game of basketball.
You know what? It's so hard, right? Because the evolution of the game and how now when we define the positions of the game, and I would encourage both of y'all, and Molly, you two, all three of y'all, to actually go read Rashard Phillips' book, right? Basketball Position Metrics. And Rashard Phillips was, one of the Detroit's finest, one of the greatest college players to ever touch the basketball hill. Kobe Bryant said it was one of the best players he ever played against that never got drafted. But with that being said, he actually labeled Steph Curry as a hybrid guard. A hybrid guard is an offensive disruptor, right? But the fact of the matter is, because of history, he's going to go down as a point guard. And I actually said this last year after he proved me wrong and went on to win the championship in the NBA, and he went on to win his NBA, finalist trophy and got the MVP. And so when I think about Steph, it's not what he's doing, it's how he's doing it. And when you talk about changing the game forever at 6'2", doing the things that he do, his ability to finish in the paint, it's a stat out there that, in the history, he ranks up there with Elijah Warren and Karl Malone for his finishing in the paint around the basket in history. That's crazy for 6'2". We're talking about a guy that plays below the basket. We're talking about a guy that then gave hope to all the kids around the world at 6'2" that would never be 6'5" or a 7-footer, that they actually got hope.